What was 68 is now 16, and oh, how sweet that is. March Madness picks up again tonight with the start of the Sweet 16. Great slate of games in the tournament tonight. It will feature mostly chalk. 2 number 1 seeds, Kansas and Oregon, up against 4 and a 5, actually. To break it all down with me, Doug Gottlieb, college basketball analyst for CBS Sports and Turner Sports coverage of the NCAA tournament. Also host of the Doug Gottlieb Show on CBS Sports Radio. So Doug, lots to get to. And really these 2 nights, Thursday and Friday, are 2 bookends of what we tend to see at this time of the year. So let's start with tonight again. It's very chalky. The teams we expected to be here, at least via seeding, have arrived. So let's start in the West. Number 1 Oregon versus number 4 Duke. Oregon maybe the surprise of the 1 seeds. Does Duke have another win in it?
I think they have it in them. You know, in terms of matchup-wise, Oregon has 2 fantastic shot blockers down low. Jordan Bell, Chris Boucher, but they're not a great rebounding team. And Marshall Plumlee, the third, and I've been told last of the Plumlees. This is it.
Because they come off the assembly line.
Seriously, wait 18 years and there's gonna be more Plumlees. Probably 9 of them coming. They do have the ability to rebound the basketball against the Ducks, but the Ducks play kind of a unique style. They're big men. Most of them can shoot or crash the boards from the outside. They have 2 tremendous scorers. Dylan Brooks, a Canadian kid who
burst out in the second round.
He did. I mean, I think people in the Pac-12 saw him, but remember the Pac-12, they play under the cover of darkness known as the Pac-12 network at times, plus the Pacific time zone. I think people in the Western United States have seen this Oregon team win their league, win their conference tournament, earn a 1 seed. Dylan Brooks and then Tyler Dorsey, the freshman, who was very well regarded, has come into his own. They have 2 legit scores. I would be surprised if Duke beats them, in spite of the fact that they have the rebounding and they have 2 tremendous shot makers of their own in order to take them down.
But the lack of depth has to catch up to the Blue Devils at some point.
Yes, but in the Sweet 16, remember, you've had a week off. So foul trouble it could. Look, the problem with Duke is not just lack of depth. They don't have Emil Jefferson, who's their power forward, their best offensive rebounder. So you take that out, and now it makes you have to play a smaller lineup, which helps them offensively. Brandon Ingram, who will be a top 5 pick in the NBA draft, assuming he comes out, who's a small forward playing the power forward. That's a good mismatch.
But negates the board advantage.
Hurts their rebounding advantage. And Oregon's one of the few teams that doesn't hurt because they play small forwards at power forward as well. Then the bigger issue is that Duke doesn't have great point guard play. Derek Thornton's a nice player, but he's actually supposed to be a high school senior. They thought they'd keep Tyus Jones for another season. They didn't. He went to the NBA draft. So they've had that void, and they've kind of covered it with more scoring. I think ultimately that's their undoing, not the depth. You don't need that great of depth against a team like Oregon and 2 when you've had a week off.
Quickly,
okay,
for you, I mean
yes,
quickly.
I
Kansas, Maryland, Jayhawks going through.
Okay, Maryland,
quickly.
if you're picking just personnel,
yes,
you take Maryland, but Kansas wins all of these games. Take Kansas in an incredible game.
That's a personal record for Doug. I want everybody to fully understand that. All right, so from the chalk of Thursday to the madness of Friday, this is the result of one of the better, crazier first weekends in recent memory of this tournament. So I want to take you through some of the teams that maybe didn't expect to be here at all. Gonzaga, an 11 seed, had to win its conference tournament, got in. Maybe now we find out the West Coast might have been undervalued up against Syracuse. And if we had the sought to play, Doug, you were able to express your official shock and awe that the Orange would be playing in March 1st before anybody else. But here we are, 11 v 10.
Yeah, look, it doesn't matter how you've gotten here. Here to historically, last 20 years programs, dominant programs. Gonzaga hasn't been to the Final Four. Last year should have been the year. This year it shouldn't have. Their guard play wasn't good enough, and yet suddenly now it's gotten better. They're playing against a Syracuse team that's been up and down all year. They've beaten Duke on the road, but they lost to the worst St. John's team in half a century. So to say I know what you're going to get, look, Syracuse plays a zone the whole game, right?
Which is what happens. They squeak into the tournament, then they just zone you up.
Okay, so they play a zone.
Yeah.
So Gonzaga, they've played against a zone, I think, 8% of the time all year. Yeah. So if somebody to say, how is Gonzaga going to play against a zone? I don't know. They have Kyle Wiltshire, who can give you 30 from the outside. Domas Sabonis on the inside, who can give you 20. I still think it comes down to the guard play. Wouldn't stun me if Syracuse wins this game, not because their defense, because their offense is a lot better than people are giving them credit.
Quickly, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, that's a 6-7. Didn't see these two coming either, especially with Nigel Hayes, like really yet to make a shot, it feels like, through the first 2 games. Do either one of these give trouble to theoretically North Carolina one round from now.
I don't think so. Yeah. But there is something to this Wisconsin team who is 9-9 to start the season, lost to Western Illinois at home, and then all of a sudden ran roughshod through the Big Ten. But look, I think Notre Dame is a team that, because of their point guard play with Demetrius Jackson, because they too have made a run in the NCAA tournament before, I think Notre Dame wins this game because they have better shot makers from the perimeter. But I think ultimately this is Carolina's bracket to win. It's Carolina's tournament to win. Last time they won a national championship, they were preseason #1. This year they're preseason #1, and they figured out how to play defense in March. It's my expectation that they get to Houston.
Isn't that what always happens? We tell ourselves all about the Stephen F. Austins and the Middle Tennessee States, the Yales.
But that's what this weekend is really about.
Yes.
Last weekend is about the upsets. This weekend is about crowning a national champion, and the cream rises to the top.
And it begins tonight, and you will be in the middle of it all. Doug Gottlieb from CBS Sports, friend of the program. Thanks.